Somewhere in your supporter list, there is a quiet, loyal person who has given you £20 a month for 15 years, who would happily leave your charity a gift in their will, and who has never done it for one simple reason: nobody ever mentioned it. That is the strange truth about legacy giving. The gifts people leave to charities in their wills are often the largest single donations a small organization ever receives, and yet most charities never raise the subject at all because it feels awkward, morbid, or somehow greedy. It is none of those things when it is done with care. This video is about the conversation, how to raise the subject sensitively, what to say, what materials help, and how to look after someone who tells you they have remembered you. One important note before we start, and please take this one seriously. This is educational content about marketing and communication only. It is not legal, tax, or financial advice. We are not solicitors, and wills and inheritance rules differ enormously by country and change over time. Anyone actually making or changing a will should speak to a qualified solicitor or professional advisor, and your job is to point them there, not to guide them yourself. Why legacies feel awkward and why they matter. Let us start with the discomfort, because it is real and worth naming. Asking someone to consider a gift in their will means gently touching the fact that they will one day die, and most of us would rather talk about almost anything else. Fundraisers worry it sounds ghoulish or that supporters will think the charity is circling, so the subject never comes up, and a supporter who would have said yes simply never gets asked. Meanwhile, for a small charity, these gifts can be transformative, sometimes larger than a whole year of ordinary fundraising. Here is the reframe that helps. You are not asking someone to die. You are offering someone who cares deeply about your cause a way for that care to continue after they are gone, which many people find genuinely comforting. Handled respectfully, it is one of the kindest conversations in fundraising, not the most ghoulish, where your job ends and the solicitor's begins. Before we go any further, let us draw a very clear line, because this is where charities get into trouble. Your job is to raise the subject, explain why it matters to your cause, and make it easy for someone to act. Your job is not to tell anyone how to write a will, what wording to use in their particular circumstances, how their estate should be arranged, or what any of it means for tax. That is professional work. It is regulated in most places. It depends entirely on someone's personal situation, and getting it wrong can do real harm to a family you were trying to serve. So say this out loud and often. We would always encourage you to speak with a qualified solicitor or professional advisor. Never write someone's will for them. Never sit in the room as a witness or an influence. Never draft their clauses. Stay firmly on the marketing side of that line, and you can talk about this subject with a clear conscience. Who actually leaves a gift in a will? It helps to understand who these supporters really are, because most charities guess wrong. They imagine a wealthy stranger and they wait for one. In reality, the people who leave gifts in wills are usually ordinary, deeply loyal supporters, often people who gave modest amounts faithfully for years, who volunteered, who came to the events, who knew your staff by name. They are frequently not your biggest donors at all. What they share is longevity and closeness, a sense that your charity has been part of their life, which means your best prospects are almost certainly already on your list, quietly reading your newsletter. It also means the groundwork for legacy giving is simply the warm, long-term supporter work you should be doing anyway. You are not hunting for millionaires. You are noticing the people who have been beside you all along and giving them the chance to make that permanent. Making it normal to mention, the single biggest thing you can do is make the subject ordinary rather than an event. If the only time your charity mentions wills is in one dramatic, heavy-handed appeal letter, it will land like a shock. Instead, let it appear quietly and regularly in the places supporters already look. A single line at the bottom of your newsletter, a short mention on your website's Support Us page, a sentence in your impact report thanking those who have remembered you. A gentle note that some supporters choose to leave a gift and that we are always happy to talk about it. Say it often enough that it becomes a normal, unremarkable part of who your charity is, so that when someone reaches the moment where they are thinking about these things, the idea is already familiar. Frequency and lightness beat one loud ask every time. The words that work and the ones that do not. Language matters more here than almost anywhere else in fundraising. Avoid anything that sounds transactional or grasping, and avoid the heavy euphemisms that make everyone uncomfortable. What tends to work is warm, simple, and permissive. A gift in your will is a way to make sure this work continues for the children who come after us. Some of our supporters choose to remember us in their will, and if that is something you might consider, we would be glad to tell you more. Notice what those do. They invite rather than press, they focus on the future of the cause rather than your finances, and they leave the person entirely free. What does not work is urgency, guilt, or anything implying an expectations. There is no deadline here, and pretending there is one will only make people distrust you. Speak the way you would to a friend you respect, and let them come to it in their own time. Simple materials a small charity can make. You do not need a glossy legacy brochure, and you certainly do not need to spend money you have not got. What helps is one calm, honest page on your website or as a simple leaflet that does a few things. It explains why gifts in wills matter to your cause, in human terms. It shows what such a gift could make possible in your work. It reassures people that a gift of any size is welcome, because many people wrongly assume you only want large ones. It says clearly that you would always recommend speaking to a qualified solicitor, and it gives one warm named person to contact if they would like to talk, ideally with a real phone number, because these conversations do not happen through a web form. That is genuinely enough. One good page written with care will do more than an expensive brochure written in a corporate voice that nobody quite believes. Where the invitation belongs. Placement matters, because these conversations happen at particular moments in life. The obvious homes are your website, your newsletter, your impact report, and your thank you communications. But think a little wider. Long-standing volunteers and members are natural people to tell gently. Anniversaries of your charity are a lovely, natural moment to talk about the future and who will carry the work forward. A tribute or in-memory page where people give in memory of someone is a place where these thoughts are already present, so a light mention sits naturally there. What you want to avoid is putting the invitation somewhere that feels ambush-like, in the middle of an emergency appeal, or in a message to someone who has just lost a family member. Read the room. The right message in the wrong moment does more damage than no message at all. When someone tells you they have remembered you, here is the moment small charities most often fumble, and it is the most important one in this whole video. Someone writes or mentions at an event that they have left you something in their will. That person has just done an extraordinary thing, and how you respond decides whether they feel appreciated or awkward. So respond like a human being, quickly and warmly. Thank them properly and personally, ideally with a phone call or a handwritten note from someone senior, not a template. Do not ask what the gift is worth, do not ask to see documents, and do not treat it as a transaction, because that is exactly what makes people regret telling you. Simply say thank you, tell them what it means to the cause, and ask whether they would like to stay closer to the work. Some people will not want to discuss it further at all, and that is entirely their right. Let them lead. Thanking and keeping in touch for years. Legacy stewardship is unusual in fundraising because the relationship may last 20 years before anything happens, and the person must feel valued for every one of them, so keep them close. Include them in the things that make supporters feel like insiders, a note about how the year went, an invitation to see the work, a card at Christmas. Do not put them in a special silo and then forget them. And equally, do not suddenly stop asking them for ordinary donations unless they ask you to, because people find that odd and slightly clinical. Also remember that people can and do change their wills, and that is absolutely their right. So never treat a pledge as money you already have or count it as income you can spend. Simply keep being the charity they fell in love with. The best legacy stewardship is not a program. It is a long friendship faithfully maintained. Handling the sensitive moments with care. Finally, the human moments that need the most care of all. When a gift does arrive, it arrives because someone has died, and there is a grieving family behind it. Handle that with enormous gentleness. Never celebrate a legacy publicly in a way that reduces a person to a sum of money. If you thank them in your impact report, thank them by name only if the family is comfortable with that, and speak about the person, not the amount. Be extremely careful about pressing anyone during illness or bereavement, and if a family raises a concern, step back and take proper advice rather than defending your position. And know when to stop, because if a supporter is unwell, confused, or under pressure from others, the right thing is to say nothing at all. Your reputation here is built over decades and can be lost in a single tactless letter, so err always on the side of restraint. Let us bring it together. Gifts in wills are often the largest donations a small charity ever receives, and the main reason supporters do not leave them is that nobody ever mentioned it. Reframe the ask. You are not talking about death. You are offering someone a way for their care to continue. Draw a hard line between your job and a solicitor's. Always point people to a qualified professional, and never advise on wills or tax yourself. Look for your loyal, long-standing supporters rather than imagined millionaires, and make the subject normal by mentioning it lightly and often rather than loudly once. Use warm, permissive language with no urgency and no guilt. Build one honest page with a named human to call. Place the invitation where it fits the moment, and when someone tells you, thank them like a person and never ask what it is worth. Then keep that friendship faithfully for as long as it lasts. Legacy giving is the most patient work in fundraising. You may plant something this year that does not grow for 2 decades, and you will very likely not be the person who sees it arrive. That can make it feel like a strange use of your limited time, but it is one of the few things a small charity can do today that genuinely secures its tomorrow. And the truth is, most of the work is simply being worth remembering and being brave enough to mention it. So here is your simple start. This week, add one gentle sentence to your newsletter or your website saying that some supporters choose to leave a gift in their will, that gifts of any size make a difference, and that you would always recommend speaking with a qualified solicitor. Then give a real name and a real phone number for anyone who would like to talk. That is the whole beginning. Remember that everything here is educational content about communication only. It is not legal, tax, or financial advice. We are not solicitors, and rules around wills differ by country and change, so anyone making or changing a will must speak to a qualified solicitor or professional advisor. If this helped, subscribe for more practical, honest charity marketing you can actually use, and take a look at the companion written guide linked below. We will keep turning big, intimidating topics into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.